We got 3 pieces of bad news about Ubisoft as they continue their restructuring. Also, Ghost of Yotei, what are the developers going to do now that the game is out? And we got way more gaming news to go over. So sit back, thanks for joining the Sunday video, and let's go. But first, the console wars is officially over, because a remake of the first Halo campaign is coming to PlayStation 5 in 2026 alongside PC and Xbox. And this marks the start of Halo coming to PlayStation going forward. Whoa, I mean, we knew this was coming, but it's still wild to see. The first project, Campaign Evolved, remakes the original campaign in Unreal Engine 5. Uber Nick, link to his channel in the video description, already made some comparisons. And yes, the game looks properly modern now. They've added sprinting, a 4-player co-op, which means they had to tweak some spaces to make them larger, and even added a new seat to the Warthog, so everyone can ride the vehicle. It will have cross-play and cross-progression across all platforms, plus split screen for 2 players on console. They also re-recorded the dialogue with the core cast, remastered the audio, added new cinematics. They're also adding 9 weapons from across the series, along with 3 new prequel missions. So it's going to be a true remake. But no price was announced yet. You would think they won't go full price since the multiplayer is not included. The reason for that, I think, is because they're planning a big live service platform, basically the one way to play the Halo multiplayer going forward on Unreal Engine 5 and also launching on PlayStation. But yeah, so far they've only announced the campaign remake. But there's of course a bigger conversation here. This is like seeing Sonic on a Nintendo platform for the first time. This week we also learned that Microsoft executives have been expecting the Xbox division to achieve 30% profit margins, almost double the industry average since 2023. And that was of course after the Activision Blizzard purchase. That push for profitability is what led to the recent layoffs, the studio closures and price hikes, and it's also the main reason they're bringing all their games to PlayStation. For example, we learned that Indiana Jones actually sold best on PlayStation even after launching 6 months later. So yeah, there's of course way more that we could go into, but for now I want to leave it at the fact that the Halo announcement marks the end of all speculation. Yes, Blade, Gears of War E-Day, Fable, they're all coming to PlayStation 5 as well. Your takes, of course, more than welcome in the comments. We got 3 pieces of bad news for Ubisoft this week as the company continues to restructure following years of underperformance. We learned that 60 jobs may be at risk at Ubisoft Red Links, the studio behind the Trial series. The studio will now focus on mobile development with 2 unannounced mobile games currently in the works. My thoughts of course go out to those impacted, and the same goes for everyone at Ubisoft Massive. That studio is asking staff to volunteer to be laid off, offering them a comprehensive package that includes financial and career assistance. So basically, do you want to work somewhere else? Here's a few months of pay hopefully, and we will help you find a new job. They are likely doing it this way because of European labor laws, while in the US it's much easier to simply lay people off. But yeah, I've talked about it before, it was sadly bound to happen that some redundancies would be made at Massive. For one, both Avatar Frontiers of Pandora and Star Wars Outlaws did not deliver in terms of sales. I honestly never thought Avatar would end up being the more popular game compared to an open world Star Wars title, but here we are. And with Avatar now getting a third person mode and a new DLC based on the upcoming third movie, it will likely get a nice renaissance too. But yeah, that's probably it. Massive will be moving from a studio working on 2 massive AAA games to one focused on just a single project, The Division 3. So what they said in their statement is that they remain fully committed to our roadmap and to creating great experiences for players around the world, including The Division 2, The Division 2 Survivors, The Division Resurgence, and The Division 3. Survivors is, by the way, an updated take on the extraction mode inside The Division 2, and Resurgence is the mobile game. Both should launch soon, with The Division 3 likely aiming for a 2028 release, as it now has been in the works for about a year. But yeah, I think it makes sense that they don't need the same number of people they once did. I'm curious to see if their bet on The Division pays off, but with Destiny struggling right now and Destiny 3 nowhere in sight, if it ever comes at all, they definitely have a big opportunity. But yes, I said 3 bad news stories because the Splinter Cell remake game director has reportedly quit. And well, this is true if you look at the director's LinkedIn profile, as his position ended in September 2025. It also seems like Ubisoft already put up a new job listing for a game director, which is wild, so no one inside Ubisoft Toronto that already worked on the project could step up to be a game director. You really need someone from outside the studio. The listing has now been taken down, but we still have this screenshot from Tech for Gamers. Either way, this is bad news for the remake. It has been in development for 4 years now. They started right after Far Cry 6 in 2021. So by the time it comes out, will it be like 5 or 6 years in the making? Meaning it will need to sell way more copies than is realistic to make the investment worth it, I think at least. And then they will point at the remake saying it did not sell as much as we expected and we're not getting a Splinter Cell ever again. Kind of what happened with Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Now let's hope it still crosses the finish line, but this could mean the Splinter Cell remake might skip Ubisoft Forward 2026 after all. I'll of course follow the Ubisoft news here and keep you up to date. Like, they really need a big hit, that is what it comes down to. I think in the near future, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, the remake, could be huge for them. But yeah, it's going to be important. Can they put Ghost Recon on the map again with the new game that is seemingly coming out next year? Will Assassin's Creed Hexe be the fresh wind that the Assassin's Creed franchise needs? A lot of interesting stuff. Again, we'll keep you posted. Now let's look at way more gaming news. Leave a like, that would really help me out, and subscribe, because we post one of these big gaming news roundup videos every Sunday. Time for quick shots, news stories I will go over quickly, and well, it seems like one of my most anticipated games for 2026, 007 First Light, is getting a theme song performed by none other than Lana Del Rey. On the Lana Del Rey subreddit, a user found that she registered a new song called First Light, which of course is the same name as the game. I mean, her song Born to Die already feels like a Bond theme, so it seems like she's the perfect candidate. But damn, if this is true, they're really going all out with this game, and then I would not be surprised if she performs the song at the Game Awards on December 11th. Would be funny as well if this turns out to be coincidence, but likely not, so let me know what you think in the comments down below. Ghost of Yotei sales are matching Ghost of Tsushima in the US, according to Circana, the firm that collects all the data from game publishers. So unless Sony had bigger ambitions, you can definitely call this a success. A quick reminder, Tsushima launched at the peak of COVID in July 2020, and at a time when there were about 20 million more PS4s in the wild than PS5s today. Combine that with the fact that Yotei is $10 more expensive, yet made on the same estimated budget of around $60 million, and you get a very profitable project for Sony. So what's next? Well, obviously we know the Legends multiplayer mode is coming in 2026. If they follow a similar timeline to Tsushima, that would mean a January release, since that game got its multiplayer mode and New Game Plus update 3 months after launch. I really hope that this is the case, because February and March are already packed with big releases, so January would be perfect. Now, Sucker Punch said in an interview that they are waiting to hear from fans before deciding on a possible DLC, but that's never really how these things work. These plans are always made way in advance. Of course, if the game flops, things might change, but that's clearly not what's happening here. It's really more a question of whether Sucker Punch wants to release something during the PS5 generation still, or shift their focus to a PlayStation 6 project. The Iki Island DLC 1 year later last time around made sense, because they could combine it with the PS5 enhancements for the director's cut. They also reused a lot of the new unlocks and ideas from the DLC in Yotei, so they might do something similar again. But to be honest, I think and kinda hope they're working on a completely new IP next. We know they describe themselves as an open world third-person character action game team, so I'm totally down for another open world title from them, but not set in Japan. I'm fine with leaving Atsu's story as it is. I don't really need to learn more about her, so unless they decide to do a Jin standalone DLC, I would rather see them move on. I think it's the Legends multiplayer, a PC release, and then that's it. But I'm curious to hear your take in the comments down below. Things are not going too well at Remedy. The CEO of the Control and Alan Wake 2 developer has stepped down, likely because the 2 most recent titles did not perform as expected. While Alan Wake 2 received very high review scores, it only started making a profit after selling 2 million copies 16 months after launch. This should have been an easy win for them. And then of course they tried FBC Firebreak, the co-op shooter set in the Control universe, but just like almost every other single player developer trying a live service game, it flopped hard. with very limited content at launch and no real reason to keep playing after a few days. I would not be surprised if they pull the plug on it completely now. Quantic Dream is, by the way, the next single-player developer trying to break into the live service space with Spellcasters Chronicles. A really bad name. I would rather see them make another Detroit type game or focus on finishing Star Wars Eclipse if that's ever coming out. But the big recurring revenue from live service games is just too alluring, and that's why everyone keeps trying. But to be fair, I actually saw some positive reactions to the Spellcasters gameplay because they're actually trying something new here. So maybe this will work out, although the decks are of course stacked against them. How Remedy plans to turn things around is with Control 2, which has been in development for a while. They need to sell 3 to 4 million copies lifetime to basically get a 100% return on investment. And in business terms, that means double what they put in. So probably break even around 2 million, just like Alan Wake 2. I think that's going to be challenging in this day and age. But they're also working on the Max Payne 1 and 2 remake with Rockstar. And I think their future lies in working on more popular brands like this. Or maybe even doing a Marvel game. I've said it before, a Doctor Strange Remedy game would be pretty big. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. No big leaks worth covering in the Rumor Roundup this week, as they were mostly for the Halo remake, and that of course happened. So we'll keep an eye out and cover the biggest rumors next week in this segment. This coming week, we've once again got a few new releases with headliners, including The Outer Worlds 2. It's already out for players with the premium edition, but it will be available for everyone else this coming week. It currently has an 85 on Metacritic at the time of this recording, with press saying it's bigger, deeper, more complex, has better combat and characters, so it seems to be delivering. Let me know if you'll be playing in the comments down below. Arc Raiders is also finally launching after that free open beta weekend they just did. Not really my type of game, but I'm seeing a lot of excitement around it. Last week, Battlefield 6 and Arc Raiders were both top sellers on Steam, so games from current DICE developers and ex-DICE people who went to Embark to work on Arc Raiders are both doing well. Battlefield 6, by the way, is also getting its first season this coming week with new maps, modes and more, and potentially the Battle Royale, which should be free to play, will be shadow dropped on October 28th. As you might know, Assassin's Creed Shadows is also getting a big free update this week, adding new parkour moves, a new replayable castle feature. I'll of course be streaming it, covering it here, so stay tuned. First up on Monday, we got my weekly stream where we discuss all the latest gaming news together. Link to that in the video description, hope to see you there. And of course, at the end of the week, you can expect another gaming news roundup just like this. Check out my video on why the next-gen consoles are already coming in 2027, even though we don't want them yet, by clicking on the screen. Subscribe, leave a like, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.